Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Milan Talks NRL SuperCoach here to wrap up round 18, and all I can say is that was a great round of footy. Although there was a couple of meh games to start off the week, but Saturday was incredible, and then we've had a couple of close finishes on the Sunday afternoon, I should say, between the Raiders and the Knights, but 2 Golden Point games on Saturday. Incredible stuff. So a really fun week of footy all around. There are probably going to be some really big scores as well. So people generally, first thing they want to ask is, what was par? Really hard to say, because I think, captains like just James Tedesco, you know what, I'm just going to leave it on him all stream, surely. Captain 148, 74% of the top 1% captain him though. So there's going to be some big scores already because he was so highly captained. But Latrell went big. The likes of popular tradings like Britton Nicholas did pretty well. If you went and got in like a Josh Curran, he went close to 90, end up on 87. There were just some big scores all around. Greg Marzu, the most traded in player, ended up on 85. What a man. Our Greg is back. So there are going to be some big scores. So really hard to tell what par is. I feel like 1300, 1350 plus, you probably had a decent week. And I think you probably should be expecting some green arrows. I haven't done the whole overall league check. I probably won't have time to do so. But yeah, I feel like if you're in a score in the 1300s, 1330, 1340 plus, probably a good week. 1400 for sure does feel like a really, really good week this week. So AB Collectibles, 1491 LFG, that is huge. Jake Young, 1431 in the end. Moz, 1436, and he benched Api Coruscant, another player who actually updated pretty well. So he ended up on 90 points. 1350 for Mark Lawless, 1350. The wife beat me again with 1392. Then you just got to let her run your Supercoach side from now on, Mark. Tour Pro, Ponga looked electric. 1453 from Nick. Somehow lost your head-to-head by 100. I feel like I'm going to need to see that screenshot of that team that scored 1553. I don't doubt it because there were some big scores this week. But yeah, 1217 from Swift AU. Not bad, but not good. Probably does feel just about on the lower end of par. Ian Johnson, Evening Command, 1375, ranked 872nd. Thoughts on green or reds? I would have to think that's green arrows. So yeah, look, so I ended up on 1372. So pretty happy overall with that score. I think most of the trade, like Greg Marzu as my trade in, worked out well. I did end up trading in Jake Simpkin just because I didn't want to cop an AE. Look, in the end, Joe Chan didn't even play. So he actually wasn't going to be my AE, but my AE, I still had Fletcher Sharp, and he ended up scoring 13 points. So in the end, like doing that trade, it netted me like 35, 36 points, which is, it's okay, but it's more just for hopefully getting Simpkin for round 19 coverage as well. Obviously Grant was out. But yes, overall pretty happy with the week. I mean, Captain Teddy obviously was huge. Dragons were in it in that game, but I'll send a screenshot of mine. Where do you want it, mate? Send it to me on Twitter if you want. If you follow me on Twitter, or you know what, you can even just DM me on Instagram. Either of the two work for me. Instagram actually probably in the DMs probably helps if you want to send it there. Sorry, but Halves is the GOAT, not Teddy. Nah, it's got to be Teddy, man. Surely, look, I myself included, we were doubting him round one. Only a few people started with him at 700 and something K. And now he just looks like he's just going to be set and forget for the rest of the year. And probably almost a set and forget captain with how decent the Roosters run home is. Like, he's just, if you take, like, he's already averaging, I think, for the season. What is he averaging for the season? I want to say it's in the high 80s. Let's have a quick look see here if the game decides to show me. He's averaging 86, and remember that does include a score of 3 or 4 earlier in the year. I reckon if you took that out, his average was already 90 plus. He scored 148. He could be averaging close to that year, where he averaged 95 points. So yeah, good on you, Teddy. Killing it for us all. Lovely jubbly. Jason Raymond, 1463. My mate scored 1543 and he benched Jacob Gagai. 1491, 1459. I reckon Teddy may lose a try assist. I'm not sure. He got what did he get in the end? 3 try assists, I believe it was. So he got one for Tupou, I think. Sorry, wrong game. So what did he end up on? He ended up on 3 try assists. So I think he got one for Tupou, got one for Dom Young. I think he should keep both of those. And then he got one for Sitili Tupanua. I think he's gonna keep all of them. Says you got to accept the message. Oh, don't worry, I'll do it on stream. No worries, Nick. But let me have a look at this. But yeah, keep posting your scores, guys. 1645 jokes. There you go. Okay, I can't see the message just yet. But let me know, Nick. I'll let you know, Nick, if I see it come through. But I am open on my Instagram at the moment. 16-18 for my mate. Look, I'm not gonna ask for proof for all of these because I can imagine there are going to be some big scores this week. 14-13. Hopefully we'll still see green. You guys make me feel bad now about my 1372, but nah, I'm pretty happy. I think in my rank of 3,900, I'm hopeful that I should see some green arrows. And it's hard to tell using the overall league update thing that you can check because supposedly it won't have updated for today's games yet. So probably want to check tomorrow morning. 1327 from Sam, 1395 from Azar. Went for 7 from 8 in the tips. Yeah, I think I had a better week on the tips as well myself. I think I went 6 out of 8. So I got the Sharkies game wrong. I did tip the Sharks, so they obviously didn't help there. And I got the Cowboys wrong. So I did tip the Cowboys. I thought playing at home, I thought they would win there, but Manly got that. So tipped everything else though, which I was happy with. But yeah, 2 golden point games yesterday, a pretty close game today as well. Just pretty crazy round in general, wasn't it? In terms of how my team went, just to quickly rattle that off. So I've already mentioned the Simkin. I did leave some points on the bench. So I did bench Terrell May because I just thought with Weir Hargraves in that milestone game, I thought with Collins back, a full squad in the forwards, I thought Terrell May might just have one of those random games where he's played bigger minutes the last couple of weeks. So maybe it reduces this week. I think the Victor Radley concussion did change things a little bit, but he ended up playing, I think, low 50 minutes. So he ended up on 68 points. I played Samuel Lafinu instead. He ended up on 51 against the Storm with no attacking stats. It's fine. So I've left about 17 points there. Played Curran, who was awesome. Obviously, a lot of the stats from middle forwards in that game are going to be slightly inflated. I know Mike Kachowski in the chat is saying, have you seen Barnett score? I have. It's quite big. Remember, we do it he was already on a big score before Golden Point, but remember that there was Golden Point, so there was extra time for a lot of middle forwards to take extra runs and tackles. So that did boost up a lot of scores this week. But yeah, very happy with Curran's 87. Second row, pretty solid as well. So Nicho actually was really good. Did score I think he scored a try, so 92. Same with Eli Katoa, 86. Angus Crichton, who I brought in last week, played him. Very happy with him scoring 88. So I feel like I'm happy to just have him for the run. But my whole back row, Fifita, surprisingly, was actually the lowest with 52. So Kai Pisfall was only 1 point off him. In the halves, overall pretty solid. I didn't end up playing Galvin, who scored 63, did score a line break try, but not the worst score. My reserves all did well, 88, 65, 60, and 85. It was some of the guys who I'd played in the end, Val Holmes and Iro, a little bit on the lower end, 47, 56. But Iro, no attacking stats, he's safe for that mid-50 score. Dillbag's a little bit subdued, only 53. Cody, 72, so it was pretty good in that game. Scored a try and a try assist, although there's obviously some big news on Latrell, which we'll unpack. What else we got? Sam Walker, pretty solid with 65. Karaz, 63, pretty much all in base. I think he had 44 points in base in just runs. So the guy's solid as it comes, but I wasn't going to take that loop score of 63. Ruben Garrick, speaking of, he was just immense in that game. Actually had so many runs. That was one thing I noticed from that game. So he had 114 break even, but looks a prime target, I think, for next week in round 19. And of course, Teddy capped it all off. 148 points as captain was very, very nice. And Dom Young solid. Greg Marzi awesome. Scored that try with a line break and had another line break later in the game. Bunch of tackle busts. So yeah, really happy with him as a trade-in as well. So yeah, overall pretty happy with how things went there. Hooker probably was one where I lost some points because people did have the likes of Coruscant, who are pretty well owned. But what have we done? We've about 10 minutes of rambling. I'm happy to go just here and there, just wherever you guys have questions. I try to keep it a little bit more flowy and more Q&A oriented for the Roundup stream. I just responded to your post about the stream going live and posted 2 pics. All right, let's have a quick look. Nick, you're really determined to send me these photos. Here we go. Oh, okay, I can see it. Hello. What are we looking at here? Sorry, that's someone else's. 1553. Good God, what has he got? He had Latrell, he had Cody, he had Mitch Barnett, of course, 138 points. I mean, Mitch Barnett has been awesome. Last 5 rounds, he's just putting up awesome numbers. He's just been quite expensive, and I think in and out of the Origin squad, so very, very low owned, but he's going to be really expensive. He was already 700k, but he had a huge game. Got 1 try assist, but even without that, he was looking at 100 plus pretty much just in work rate. So he had 138 from Mitch Barnett. What has he got? He's got Wishart. Tyron Wishart had a huge game as well, over 108 points for him in the end, goal kicking. Scored that late try, which really boosted his score up as well. Nicho Hynes, Karaz. Yeah, he's got. I think the differentiators in his squad seem to be Wishart, Latrell, and Barnett. I feel like those three probably aren't very, very highly owned, but otherwise the rest of his squad pretty solid. But yeah, no credit to that guy. 1553. That's an awesome score. Is Asako a keeper? Oh, look, I'll keep Asako for 19 and reassess. At the way that he's been going the last weeks, probably not. But yeah, look, one to talk about probably more a bit next week. Is Hynes a must next week from Reece? Now, obviously, that's going to be one of the biggest questions, I guess, coming into next week, is that we're in the major bye week. Nicho was, and the Sharks in general, pretty unconvincing. The Titans were actually pretty good up in Coffs Harbour. He ended up on 68 points, Nicho Hynes, but he did score a late try, which did have a line break associated with it. I will say he did miss out on what I think was a justified try assist to Ramian, which was going to be a try assist, line break assist, and it was very close to the goalpost. So I think he would have kicked that goal. So we're looking at 24 points there that I think he should have got. So even if you take out the 30 points from his try, I think you add back 6. He was probably, I think the score of 68 was probably fair, but very easily, if things went just a little bit differently, he easily could have been on like 90 plus, and that's in a pretty unconvincing game. So I know Nicho hasn't really been doing that well. I feel like as a Sam Walker owner, it's a little bit easier for myself to trade him potentially next week to Hynes. I think people who have Jerome Hughes, of course, we haven't spoken about him, but he updated to 100 as well. He's just been killing it. Jerome Hughes owners probably have a much more difficult decision, because the way that he's been going, you'd be thinking there's no way I'm trading this guy out, surely. I'm not going to call Hynes a must-have next week, because I think you have to go with your gut a little bit on this, and you go with your eye test. And yeah, look, he's not looking great. But the thing is, he does still have really good work rate. Like, he still accumulates points. So like, if you take out just the try and the line break, 20 tackles with a tackle bust in there. We'll give him the two try contributions, because I think that's pretty safe. So 14 plus 20, what's that? 34 plus 2, 36. 36, 42. We're looking at 45 net points minus 4. We're looking at 41 points with him not doing anything. That's kind of really the flaw, I guess, of Hynes, is 41. And we know that he can very easily get attacking stats, and could have got that one for Ramian, who actually has had a really good game as well, 73 with only one try contribution. But yeah, Britt Nicho obviously really good with his 92. I do think, like with Hynes, so he had 118 break-even coming into this week, so he will be below 700k. Again, Nicho Hynes at like sub 700k with a game against the Tigers, who, if you refer back to my Tuesday stream, the Tigers have been the worst team in terms of conceding SuperCoach points in the last 8 rounds or so. And so you look at that as like, he will be whether you trust his the eye test or not, he will be very mass vice captained or captained next week. And I guess part of the game is also rank protection. He does have the buy in round 20, so you do need to factor that in. But yeah, my head still tells me that I will probably look to trade in Hynes next week. At the moment, because I want to try to keep pushing and try to have good numbers in round 19. Potentially, I might sell Sam Walker, even though Sam Walker's been good. But I guess today was maybe a good example of why I'm somewhat okay selling Sam Walker, because I've got so many other Roosters. I've got Angus, Teddy, Dom Young, and Terrell May. Mainly the other 3 backline players and Angus. Like, if Sam Walker does well, generally it's going to be benefiting some of those other guys too. And so I feel like if I lose Sam Walker, I'm still going to be somewhat benefiting from him performing well and the Roosters performing well. And so you can have these games where the Roosters put up like what did the Roosters put up? 42 points in the end, but still go like 65. On the other hand, he can have games where he goes 150, but Hynes, I think, has the same ability as well. So yeah, I probably will be getting Hynes in, I think, myself next week. Can you please shout out my mate's SuperCoach team, Titanium All-Stars, please? Thanks. Shout out Titanium All-Stars. No idea what you scored, but good luck to you. Hopefully you did well. I'm standing on business with this take. New South Wales have completely done Nicho dirty. Yeah, of course, there's all been this chat as well this week of, Nicho being kind of unhappy with Sydney, and particularly the Sydney media being a bit toxic and things, and potentially eyeing a move to, like, I think it was the Cowboys. So there's some of those reports going around too. I think he's been very unfairly treated, because he's had a couple of games in Origin, didn't do the best, and he's just been hung out to dry. It doesn't help that Mitch Moses comes back in and has probably one of the best games in his entire life. And so everyone's looking at Nicho's nah, he's never cut out for Origin. And he might not be, but he's been pretty unfairly treated, I must say. Do we hold Terrell May to around 20? So quickly we'll wrap up on the Sharks Titans game, because there's actually a couple of questions here about, from Steezers here about, do we sell Fifita if he goes to Origin? Hasn't been that great. So yes, the last couple of weeks haven't been that great. I do think it's because Kieran Foran has been playing halfback and has been doing very, very well. So there's no reason for the Titans to move Kieran Foran back to the left-hand side. I think that's when Fifita was at his best. But even then, look, Fifita, a very quiet game, still 52. The Titans do have a pretty tough run home, like in terms of draw and matchups. It's not like they've got like easy games against the Tigers and, you know, the likes of those, like, you know, the Parramatters and whatnot. They've got a pretty tough run for the end of the season. So he obviously missed. So the talk is that Fifita is going to be playing Origin Game 3. So I think we have to assume that he's going to be out for next week. But he'll play around 20, and I suspect if he plays Origin, probably a bench role. So I would think the likelihood of him backing up in round 20 is probably fairly good. Dolphins, Broncos, Sharks, Dragons, Roosters, Knights, Panthers. It's not the easiest run home, but I do feel like Fifita is somewhat matchup proof. Like if you look at his high score versus Penrith, it's 79. That's his lowest high score if you look at all of his future opponents for the rest of the year. I just feel like with Fifita, like options in second row aren't that good. And I just feel like, you know, apart from him, you've probably got Angus Crichton, Uatu, and Eli Katoa. They're probably the top three. And maybe with a Britton Nicholas. They're probably the back rowers maybe that you might want to have for the run home. I get Fifita has been underperforming for the last couple of weeks, like, you know, 52 this week. But just before that, he had scored, 84, 81, 86, 89. Like, 52 is his lowest score of the year. Look, in my opinion, Fifita is not a sell for me because he very easily, he just needs one attacking stat and he's going 90, 100 plus. And there's very few back rowers in the game who've got hit the ceiling of him. So I think I'll definitely be hanging on to Fifita. He's 100% a season keeper still, in my eyes. Some chatty about Uatu being set to be dropped for Barnett in Origin 3. Not totally surprising. Like, Uatu's had a pretty limited role coming off the bench for New South Wales. Barnett has been really, really good. But that is big for Uatu owners or potentially people looking to buy him. Because if he's out, that means he plays round 19. So that's really big for people who maybe are looking at trading in a back row next week. If you were eyeing up a Kolomatangi, you might potentially go Uatu, who's cheaper than him, I believe. But on the Sharks very quickly. So Nicholas, awesome. Again, attacking stats, 92 points. I think he's getting to a very expensive price though, because he had a break even of 2. So he's going to be north of 700k, but still, you know, with the Sharks' crazy good run home, probably does feel like still worth a trade in if you're looking at him as a number for round 19 and also for the run home. Jesse Raymond was really good in this game as well, 73. Trindle did score a try, but, you know, he was a bit frustrating in that game, especially if you're a Mulatalo owner. Probably do have to mention him. Only the 31 points. Just wasn't getting any quality ball out there in that game. So, yeah, for me, Mulatalo, it's quite tricky now. You know, if you haven't already traded him in, yes, it's a very good matchup versus the Tigers next, but he's going to be continuing to drop in price. And I think maybe a lot of people, because they traded in Marzu this week, maybe they're actually okay for round 19 numbers. I still think he's fine, but for sure, I think you go with your gut, go with your eye test, and yeah, at the moment, nothing's really telling me he's going to have a breakout game. It's not like he's been close. He is getting starved of some good quality ball at the moment. That's probably it, I guess. Nothing too relevant from the Titans, apart from maybe people who went for a Keanu Keeney as a bit of a stepping stone. 66 from him. No real attacking stats in that, I believe, as well. I think he just had a couple of forced dropouts in there, a bunch of runs. So that's pretty solid if that's going to be his floor most weeks. Kieran Foran had a really excellent game. But apart from that, no other Titans went over 60. So probably not too much relevance there, I think, from that side of things. But yeah, people are asking about Uatu. Ola drop from New South Wales. Thoughts on May to Uatu? We'll quickly maybe then jump. I actually don't mind the May to Uatu play, to be honest, because May misses next week. If you've got the duels to be able to swap Terrell May to Uatu, you are probably getting a season keeper. Terrell May probably is almost a keeper at this point in front row, given that, you know, apart from the likes of Barnett, who's been killing it the last 5 weeks, Fanua Blake did go okay this week, 69, but you know, you're waiting for Payne Haas until after Origin. But Uatu is definitely he's definitely a gun. You know, 71 points this week and no attacking stats in there. Just 34 tackles, few tackle busts, one line break in there, and a bunch of runs. That's keeper numbers, right? That's second row forward. So I think a Terrell May to Uatu, yeah, that probably is an upgrade in my opinion. If you can swap a Samuel Ufinu up to your front row, and you can get a good quality back row like Uatu, and I think that's actually a pretty pretty reasonable trade. So I think Uatu for sure jumps up a lot now in the round 19 targets. If this news is true that he's not going to be picked for New South Wales, just if you've got like a link to that article or something suggesting that, please link it in the chat as well. I wouldn't mind having a quick look at that too. But yeah, I like Uatu. I mean, Terrell May for sure. Like, I think Terrell May will be good in round 20 because I do think that because the Roosters didn't rest Collins or Angus in after game 2, probably a good likelihood that they'll get a rest in round 20. And so I think, especially with Collins getting a rest, if that does play out, Terrell May will play big minutes, and we've seen what he does in those. Terrell May is the king of bye and mini bye weeks. We've seen that so far this year. So there is an element of, you might get punished for maybe 1 week, but Uatu, I think, for the run home, will probably outscore Terrell May. Terrell May does have a bye as well in round 23. And just with Manly, just have a quick look here. I feel like they've only got one bye for the rest of the year. 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, so they have a bye in round 22. So you do have to be wary of that. But Terrell May, I guess, has 2 byes coming up, whereas Uatu only 1. So you probably are going to get more points out of Terrell May than out of Uatu than you would Terrell May. Just going to take, on terms of Manly, like I've spoken a little bit about Garrick already at the beginning, but for sure I think he's a great trade-in target for round 19 coverage. Plays round 20 as well, but he had 1 try contribution, but we're looking at 16 points net in tackles, 35 points in runs. Like he was taking so many hit-ups. I felt like every set he was just taking run after run. So like awesome base stats there. 35 plus 16, what's that? Quick math, 51. 51 in base, let alone even any tackle bust and the fact that he goal kicks as well. So I do really like Garrick as a trade-in option next week in your centre wing for round 19 cover. Kula was really good, 83. So obviously people who went Kola over the likes of a Mazu or a Mulatalo, you'd be pretty happy with that. I guess it just remains to be seen how long is Turbo going to be continuing at centre. On Turbo, very quickly, I would love to see what happens with centre. So obviously, haven't talked yet about Latrell, but Latrell is going to be out for a minimum 4 weeks. If it is confirmed, I think if scans confirm a Liz Frank injury, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out for the season. So Jason Yang is asking a question here, is Latrell a hold? My early thought is probably not, just because I think it's minimum 4 weeks and fullback position is quite good. And, if you've got the duels, you can go Latrell to like a centre wing, like a Mazu if you missed out on him, Garrick for round 19 cover, round 20 cover, and probably a season keeper as well. So for me, Latrell probably is a sell, even if it is a minimum of 4 weeks, unless you're running really, really low on trades. But 4 weeks does feel like it's quite a while now. So I think people who've held on to Latrell since like round 16, because he missed round 16, but he was killing it before then, but he missed round 16, 17, and he was going to miss 19. At least in round 18, he's given you a 100 plus score, so at least you can celebrate that. But yeah, my early thought is that Latrell's probably a sell. As Tool Pro saying here, Latrell is a sell. But yeah, kind of a few Manly's players I've spoken about there that are probably relevant. Garrick, Uatu, Cherry Evans, maybe just one to keep an eye on if you're looking to antipod Nicho. Maybe after Origin, Cherry Evans could be someone who, in recent years, I think just always seems to have a good run home in terms of SuperCoach points scoring. So just keep an eye on Cherry Evans if you're looking to maybe go for a pod option at halfback. But yeah, with Turbo, 45 points, nothing really doing for him in this particular game. I think he made a bunch of tackles to get to 45. Yeah, 23 tackles. Maybe that's not what Seabod had in mind when he was going to protect Turbo, putting him at centre. But yeah, Turbo did not look 100% in my opinion. He seemed to be like wincing when he was getting tackled at certain times. But yeah, so like I'd be surprised if Turbo gets picked for New South Wales. So yeah, very interesting to see what happens with the New South Wales squad, and especially that left centre position, because obviously there's no Latrell. I guess the 2 options in my head that you'd put there would be Bradman Best, who was the incumbent from Game 3 last year, or you put in like a Matt Burton, who's had 2 game-winning field goals in back-to-back weeks. But yeah, either one of the 2, they could easily put someone there. But Turbo, after 1 game, when he didn't look that convincing, I'd be a bit surprised if Turbo was selected. So Turbo could be an option in round 19, but at the moment, I think he did roam a little bit in the game, but I think for me, what did he have as a break even? He had a 74 break even and he scored 45. So just going to quickly jump to Jay Schubert and see what his projected Turbo's price drop and next week break even to be. So he has Turbo for a 25k price drop, so he'll be about 740k, and with 114 break even. I think, to be honest, I'd probably only go Turbo if I see him named at fullback. So yeah, that's probably the only way I think I'd consider Turbo. But if you're a Latrell owner and you're looking to get someone in round 19 at fullback, Turbo is probably an option. Otherwise, I'd prefer just going to Garrick via duels. Because the chat also seems to be that Kalen Ponga is going to be playing Origin for Queensland off the bench in some capacity, and Ponga looked like, in terms of game back from injury, Ponga for sure looked better than Turbo did. So yeah, Ponga maybe some people were thinking as an option for round 19, but that probably seems unlikely. That's definitely good news for Fletcher Sharp though, because he only scored 13 points, but if he can get a full run out next week, that's just a handy number that we can use for round 19. Yeah, probably not much more, I guess, on the Cowboy side of things. Cotter scored a try, as did Nanai, I believe. No, Nanai didn't. He got a try assist, but their Origin impacted. It's probably not too much relevance there. I guess Drinkwater was good with 81, but, Drinkwater doesn't play around 19, though, so he's probably maybe not an option to consider. And, yeah, some underwhelming scores from Val Holmes and Reece Robson there. But let's maybe quickly look at the Rabbitohs Eels game, because I know there's a few questions coming in about Latrell. So yeah, he was obviously great in this game, 113 points. Jacob Gagai, the right-hand side for the Rabbitohs definitely is now like the side that they're prioritising, because Cody Walker's on that side and Latrell can sweep both sides, but they're really good on that side. So Gagai scored a double. Meanwhile, Alex Johnston goes and scores 19 points, so bugger all. So yeah, for me, Johnston is just not an option at the moment, especially even without Latrell. I think that team's just going to become more Cody-centric. It is interesting because I think, I was looking at my halves thinking, who would I actually move on for Nicho, and eventually maybe for Cleary. So my 4 halves and 5/8s at the moment, I've got Dillbags, Galvin, Cody, and Sam Walker. I'll probably move on Sam Walker, I think, to Hynes next week. I probably will do that trade, to answer your question, to a pro. But apart from that, like if I was to sell one for Cleary, Parramatta don't have an excellent run home. The Rabbitohs have got a next couple of good games, but I'm thinking, if hypothetically, if Latrell's out for the season, if it is a confirmed list, Frank, is that going to worsen Cody's scores? It probably will, and that probably reduces the Rabbitohs overall. I think Galvin I'll probably end up just keeping for the entire year, because he's just so safe and reliable to play every week for at least 50 points. So I don't see myself selling Galvin, whereas Cody's got a pretty low base, so he really does need attacking stats. Like, he scored a try and a try assist in this game and got 72. If Galvin did that, he was probably going to end up scoring like 80 or 90. But yeah, some interesting options here, I guess, with Koloamatangi going really well. 80 points, pretty much all in work rate. So he's definitely a consideration for your round 19 back row. But I do feel like Uatu, he's like, Koloamatangi is going to be touching 700k. Just going to have a quick look back at Uatu and what his price is. Yeah, Uatu is going to be like he's probably going to be like 100k cheaper. I'd probably take Uatu, I think, over Koloamatangi, in my opinion. So I think if you're already a Koloamatangi owner, then great, you're probably very happy with him. But yeah, probably, unless you're selling, Kaipi's ball was okay today with 51, but if you want to make an upgrade, then yeah, Koloamatangi is probably doing a better job than the likes of than a Kaipi's ball. Sorry, wrong game. Bryce Cartwright was okay, scored a try, 54 points, but not much from the Eel side of things here. I guess Gutho was good. Blaze Talangi has just been killing it, just keep scoring tries. So he's going to go down a little bit in price, but you can definitely play him with confidence next week, because I believe they have the Titans. Yes, they've got the Titans next week at Seabus. So he'll be a very handy round 19 number. And I think with him, you get to round 20, and then you probably sell at that point, because he's he's almost 600k. You can sell him for great value, and he misses round 20, and then he comes back from that to the Storm, Warriors away, then Penrith, then the Roosters, then the Broncos. It's a pretty tough run for the Eels overall. So yeah, for me, Talangi, I would probably look to hold on for round 19 and then sell. But this is what I'm considering as well for maybe like a Dillbags. If I did want to eventually move on to Cleary, Dillbags with this pretty tough run, he might be my ticket as well. So yeah, I think probably not looking at investing too heavily in Parramatta, just because of that tough run that they've got for the run home. Is Jake Tungo a good downgrade from Burbo/Iro? So Burbo, obviously we didn't talk about him, but he's an issue now in that he's not covering round 19 because he picked up a concussion. during the game. Jake Tungo, Sivo is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, so Tungo is going to be pretty short term. He's going to play a second game next week, but if you're looking for enough in centre, then sure, because he'll probably get next week. Then he'll miss round 20, and then by round 21, Sivo could come back. Even if he's not, then maybe he gets a couple more games, but he'll eventually be enough when Sivo comes back into that team. So, yeah, I would just look at him as he's only a downgrade that is enough, and not necessarily like a cheapie that you'd look to make money out of and eventually sell. So it's not the worst, but if you're looking for a straight enough, I wouldn't mind also even just getting someone who's dual. Because if you do have someone like a Burbo, then maybe you've got some duals that you can play around with. So I wouldn't say he's a good downgrade, but he's a fine enough if you want. If you're thinking of like a one and done, plays round 19 and then I don't ever need him again, he probably fits that bill. Who do I trade Jeremy Marshall King to? Swagman says. So on this game as well, so Damien Cook, a bit of a lower score this week, only 52. So earlier in the week, I was kind of saying my hooker rankings was still Appy number 1 just because he was goal kicking, and he plays every game until round 26 basically, and then he has a bye. So for me at hooker for round 19 cover, I think Appy with another good score this week with 90, he for me still stands out as number 1. I just like the fact that he's goal kicking, and I just think Tigers are improving, and he's absolutely central. Like there were a couple, I don't think he got any attacking points, but there was a couple of plays where he just he ran from dummy half, but did some shifts, but like pump faked or just held the ball up, and that created the overlap for like Charlie Staines to score on the wing. So he doesn't get any like credit for that from a Supercoach point of view, but like eye test wise, he's looking quite good still. Like he had that low score against the Roosters, but that was a pretty unfortunate game because of some sin bins and stuff. But for me, yeah, Appy would be my number 1. Probably then Cook and then Reid Marnie third if you want round 19 cover. Otherwise, if you want to hold out, then maybe you can just wait for like maybe a Grant or a Robson after round 19. But for sure, I think if you've got the money, Coruscant would be where I'd be moving to for your round 19 playing dummy half. That probably is it on the Rabbitohs game. As I said, I'm not interested really that much in Alex Johnson, and I think with the majority of the Eels players, you can probably keep for round 19, and then they've got the bye in round 20. We saw their run homes pretty tough. I think you can start moving on a few of them. Spoken about Sharks, Titans. Let's touch on the Bulldogs and Warriors, because I know some people might have some questions about Mitch Barnett. Nothing compares. Co says fullback days might be over for Turbo. Hammies can't handle it. I wouldn't go as far as saying that. I think there is one thing with him is that he, like Physio has mentioned this in his podcast, he's like actively changed his running style to be less likely to have an issue with his hamstrings. So if he looks like he's uncomfortable, if he's running weirdly, it's literally because he's changed his running gait. So if that's what you're making the comment in reference to, then that's just probably something I'd bear in mind. But look, Turbo will be playing at fullback at some point later in the season, that's for sure. Especially, look, if Manly want to push for the spot in the 8 and make a run in the finals, it would be with Turbo at fullback. That's 100% his best position, in my opinion. Mr. Callier, 1374, decent. Yeah, that's a pretty good score. I ended up on 1372, and I think for people who maybe are joining late, past score does feel around that 1300, just because Teddy Captain went so big, like almost 300 points straight away there. So yeah, 1300 probably does feel like a decent score. 1350 plus, yeah, hopefully you'd think of green arrows. Well, that's what I'm hoping for anyway, because I want green arrows this week. On the Bulldogs-Warriors game, obviously, Golden Point thriller, amazing game, 2 games in a row that the Bulldogs are in Golden Point. So a few of their middle forwards have got some elevated numbers, like Max King. I think he scored 80 last week, 95 this week in base power. Like, I don't know what his minutes were. I'm just going to quickly check it, but because normally he's like a 50 to 55 minute player, but this week he played, let's have a quick look see here. Yeah, 68 minutes. But even then, 95 points in 68 minutes. We generally don't see that kind of PPM from Max King. So he's stepped it up pretty much in the last couple of weeks. So maybe an option, but doesn't cover round 19. So I don't see a lot of people jumping onto him. Probably the main one though is Mitch Barnett, 138 points. So did get a try assist, but it's purely just the numbers. Like we're looking at 48 points in net tackles, 8 points in tackle bust, 20 points in offloads, 42 points in runs, and then a line break assist. Take out the line break assist, try assist, and 118 points in base power, like from Barnett, is ridiculous. And I'm pretty sure he played like the full game. What did he play? He played 83 minutes, so he pretty much didn't get a rest. He got like a 5-minute rest during the game. So, yeah, he's for sure like a nice pod option. Like his dual second row, front row. Sorry guys, I just realized I have Mitch Barnett in my draft team. How good is that? But yeah, break even of 40, so he's going to be going up a lot in price. So just referring back to Jay Schubert, yeah, he's got Mitch Barnett going up 67k with a 28 break even. So you're going to be buying him for like 770k. Like that is a lot of money, but the numbers are backing up why he's that price. Like if you look at the last 5 weeks, 93, 88, 89, 77, 66. Like he's just been on an absolute tear. So it seemed like Warriors were never going to play round 19 anyway. So he does miss out on that week anyway. So it's probably not an option to consider until round 20. But it's going to be a lot of money. I can just see like his ownership staying really, really low. Because at the moment he's only in 8% of teams. But I can just easily see round 20, people maybe looking at prioritizing someone like Payne Haas instead. Or maybe Fanua Blake. Because Fanua Blake has had a bit of a slump, but he came back with 69 points this week and played pretty decent minutes. So we know Fanua Blake's got the upside and got some ceiling on him. Fanua Blake played 66 minutes as well. So, at Fanua Blake's price now, like what, 600, like Fanua Blake will be in the 500s. Jay Schubert's got Fanua Blake going down 41k. So Fanua Blake in round 20 is going to be 560k. I can see so many people going Terrell May to AFB in round 20. And yeah, I think when you start talking about 200k price difference, yes, Barnett has been killing it, but in a position like front row, happy to try to spend the minimum. I'd probably still look to AFB. But it's a bit awkward. Like Jason saying AFB to Barnett later down the line. That, like, think about that. That now is a 200k trade. That, like, you have to spend 200k just to switch to Barnett. And while Barnett has been on an absolute tear, he is playing Origin, so maybe in round 20 his minutes are impacted a little bit. Although if he's coming off the bench, I'd probably say it's not going to be impacted that much. So he's probably still going to play pretty fair minutes, but it's just the price. 770k feels a lot of money to be spending on a front row. But look, the numbers are justifying it, but I'd probably try to hope instead that Fanua Blake can have a turnaround and that you try to pick him up at a 560k price tag. To me, that feels like a slightly better strategy. Look, if you can get to him, then great, because he's putting up amazing numbers in the last 6 weeks. So it's not just a 1 week thing. But yeah, just the price feels very, very, very difficult. Nothing compares. Says a straight swap with Samuel Ufinu to Fanua Blake. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I could potentially do that move as well. Although I do like Samuel Ufinu's dual flexibility is quite handy. But yeah, maybe even Terrell May to him, because I think the reason a lot of people will go Terrell May first is that Terrell May's got the bye in round 23, so people might try to miss him before that. What are we looking at here in that game? I guess Tuivasa-Sheck went to fullback because Nicho Hynes did pick up an injury. So, Tuivasa-Sheck at fullback, pretty much delivered what you'd expect, which is he takes a bunch of runs. He got 46 points in runs. Like, just what the hell? 8 tackles. So we're looking at 50 plus points in just base stats. So I think with Tuivasa-Sheck, you probably need to see him playing at fullback long term for me to be interested in picking him up, just because centre is very stacked. And yeah, I think we had him at the beginning of the season and he was good, like at centre. He was good for getting you like 55 and 60s, but just not quite the 80s and 90s that you're probably trying to chase in your centre position. So I think at the moment, look, one to consider maybe in round 20, because both of these teams do have a bye in round 19. So just need to be mindful of that. So a lot of the players we talk about here are probably ones that you won't even consider for next week. So I might kind of wrap up on that particular game. Broncos and Panthers. Again, Panthers don't play round 19. So probably to wrap up on the Warriors, because Lee makes a good point here. The Warriors have the bye in round 27. So you want to be careful as well with how many Warriors players you start bringing in for the run home. If you already own like a DWZ and then you're looking at getting a Fanua Blake, maybe a Tuivasa-Sheck, round 27 is probably going to be a lot of carnage, because a lot of teams will rest their players in that week. And if you think about the teams that we're loading our players up from, it's probably going to be Penrith, Roosters, Melbourne, and they're probably going to all be pretty set, and you'd think in the top 4 by the end of the season. They can definitely use round 27 as an opportunity to rest their star players if you've already got that headache, plus you've already got players on the bye as well, it could be very, very difficult to manage. So that's the other thing to mention with Warriors players. You just want to be careful with how many you're bringing in. With the Broncos and Panthers, it feels a little bit strange where, Panthers don't play round 19, so people probably won't be looking at them. But Brian To'o was great again, 86 points, just keeps getting it done. I do feel like if you didn't get him this week, his price is going to get to a point where it becomes like really, really difficult to afford him, but had a great try assist. I can't remember who scored the try, but just wrapped it around the corner. But scored a try of his own, so 86. Reece Walsh, 82, pretty good score to get against Penrith, one of the best defensive teams in the competition. He's putting his hand up potentially as a consideration for a run-home player, but with the Broncos, I think Kevy does seem to be okay with resting his Origin players. So they'll miss round 19, and the Broncos do feel like you want to get their Origin players. You want to get Reece Walsh, you want to get Payne Haas, and maybe Pat Carrigan. Payne Haas probably is the one that sticks out. Really solid again, 69 points, just keeps getting it done. He's not really going to change in price, and he had a break-even of 69. So he's pretty much going to stay at the same price. So we're probably going to have to spend more than 700k to get Payne Haas in round 20 or round 21. With a Fanua Blake being 560k instead, I'm thinking again I might save myself 150k there and try to get AFB if I do want to beef up my front row. So probably not too much relevance, I think, from the Broncos team, even for round 19 cover, because a lot of the players, even a Piakura, only 23 points, and Panthers don't cover round 19 anyways. So probably not too much relevance here. Probably the big question for Penrith will be Cleary when he comes back. You would think it would be round 20, and at that point, we just need to make a decision as to do we just trade him in straight away. So, but otherwise, probably not too much more, I think, from that game from a Supercoach point of view. Janet is asking, when is Supercoach finals? What rounds do they start? So I'm not really a head-to-head player, but I believe them head-to-head finals do begin in round 23. So I think they run for round 23, 4, 5, and 6. And that's because also, again, to reinforce that round 27 can be a headache where you might not have, a lot of players do get rested. And so I think the Supercoach coordinators decided to make head-to-head finals round 23 to 26 so that teams don't get shafted, basically, in round 27. But yeah, pretty confident that they begin in round 23, Janet. Tigers Storm, we might quickly touch on this game. So I thought Tigers were actually pretty decent. I mean, again, I look at the Storm as, obviously they're a great attacking unit, but they do concede points. Like the Tigers scored 28 points on them at Leichhardt. And we've seen the Storm concede points over the last few weeks. So I look at Storm as obviously it's a tough matchup, but defensively they do have some weaknesses. So Dream Buller was really good with 100. Api Coruscant, huge for owners, I think, who have stuck with him. He's had a couple of really big weeks, like 133 2 weeks ago. There was a low score last week, but then 90 points this week. Shout out to Moz, who earlier in the chat was basically saying he scored 1,400 plus and he sat Coruscant. Obviously, it's a bit hindsighty, but even, to be honest, with someone like Coruscant, anyone who's a goal kicker, I do find it quite tough to bench them, just because even if they don't do very well, if their team has somewhat of a good game, they still rack up these points just from goal kicking. But Coruscant is so integral to that Tigers attack. Yeah, for me, he's pretty much a perma play. One thing I will say with the Tigers as well, people who are looking at maybe selling Galvin, I really like the run for the Tigers coming up. So obviously they're relevant in that they cover round 19. And that's a game against the Sharks, which, look, Sharks are obviously sitting good on the table, but last few weeks have been pretty patchy. So not that bad. Rabbitohs is fine. Then it's the Warriors, Cowboys, Knights, Rabbitohs again, Manly, Parramatta. They pretty much don't, they don't verse, in my head now, the scary opposition that you don't want your players to be versing, which is basically the Roosters, Penrith, and Melbourne. Those are the three teams I think you just want to be avoiding matches against. And maybe arguably the Bulldogs, because Bulldogs, again, are very, very good defensively. They're probably the four teams that I'm I really don't want my attacking players versing them. Tigers don't verse any of them for the rest of the season. So the Tigers do actually have a pretty good run. And, thinking real long term, but Lockie Galvin, for example, I just don't see the Tigers resting players, in round 27. They've got nothing to, assuming they don't make the top 8, there's no reason to rest players in preparation of finals. I think they'll just keep rolling out their guys for the rest of the year. So someone like a Coruscant, Lockie Galvin, I think are just really safe, solid holds for the year. If you haven't got them and you want to get them in for round 19, I think they're perfectly viable because they've got that really pretty soft run, I think, for the run home. And they play that crucial round 27, and it's a good matchup against Parramatta as well. So, yeah, I really like with your Tigers players just sticking with them, because I think they're going to be pretty useful coverage in round 26, and they cover round 19. They cover 20, which is that mini bye week as well. So I think Tigers, while they don't have a bunch of players sticking out as like absolute trade-ins, I think the ones that you have are very safe holds for the long term. So that applies to Samuel Fainu as well. On Melbourne, of course, like someone like a Tyron Wishart has just been absolutely golden for anyone, I think, who has held him until this point. 621k with 108. So originally he was on like 119. So Jay Schubert had him down for a 47k price rise, maybe touch that back down to maybe say low 40s. But let's assume he's 660k. You can trade probably Tyron Wishart to Nicho Hynes for almost exact money. Like, if you're thinking of what's the perfect cash cow, it's like a downgrade who frees up money that makes enough money to then make a straight swap back to a gun. He's pretty much done exactly what he has been asked to do, I guess, by owners. So I think if you are an owner of Tyron Wishart, like, it probably comes also down to Munster and when Munster is due back, because as soon as Munster is back, Wishart is probably going to go into some kind of utility role. Although Bronson Garlick did pick up an injury during the game, so probably need to see what happens there. But I do think with someone like Munster coming back, that will directly impact Wishart. But I think Munster is due back maybe in round 22 is what I've heard, round 21, round 22. So Wishart probably still have a couple of games where he will be starter, but eventually he will be a problem when Munster comes back. And even then in round 20, he comes up against the Roosters. Like, it's a pretty tough matchup. So I think if you are a Wishart owner who doesn't play round 19, I think, in my opinion, I wouldn't overthink it. I'd probably just make the straight swap to someone like a Nicho Hynes next week if you don't already own. The tougher question is Jerome Hughes owners. So let me know in the chat. There's 131 of you watching, or 135 now. So let me know in the chat who is a Hughes owner. And you know what? Instead of that, let me put a poll up, because I feel like the polls are interesting. It's good to see what you guys think as well. So start a poll. Let me write, as a Hughes owner, if I can spell, are you selling to Nicho in round 19? ? Yes, no. Let's see. All right. Get in the chat, guys, and let me know what you think. But yeah, this is a tough decision. Like, I'm not a Jerome Hughes owner, and so I don't have to, like, selling Sam Walker. Like, people who own both Sam Walker and Jerome Hughes, I think I'd answer this question maybe not last week, but the week before. But I would sell Sam Walker, I think, over Jerome Hughes, because if you look at, they verse each other, Melbourne and Sydney, in round 20. So that's one thing. But then in round 21, Roosters have got, I think it's Manly, and then I think they've got the Dolphins, and then I think it's a bye. So it's Storm, Manly, Dolphins for them. For Hughes, it's the Roosters, then it's Parramatta, and then the Dragons. So I think for me, if you're thinking of, you know, getting to Nicho, or if you're thinking of which one of the two would I eventually sell for Cleary, I think Hughes is still a perfect own, where you can hold him. Like, obviously round 20 is going to be tough against the Roosters, but like Hughes is playing that good that I think his low is still going to be like a 60, 70 maybe. So I think with Hughes, like, you keep him from round 21 against Parramatta, he'll do probably quite well in that game. And assuming Munster is back round 22 against the Dragons, by then you might have seen one or two games out of Cleary, and then you're like, sweet, I'm moving straight to Cleary at this point. But yeah, it is a tough decision next week. So I think if you're owning both Sam Walker and Jerome Hughes, I'd sell Sam Walker before Jerome Hughes, just while Munster is out. I think this is the best I've seen him play pretty much in a long time. So 23 votes at the moment, and 13% of you are saying yes. 87% of you are saying no, you won't sell Hughes to Nicho. Probably what the poll doesn't add any context for, though, is like, do you already have another way to get Hynes, or do you already own Hynes? Maybe I should have asked it as, would you sell Hughes to Nicho? But yeah, tough decision. Part of me still thinks, because Hughes has a bye next week and then the Roosters, and then Munster's back, maybe let's put that situation, or Nicho, who's got Tigers in a bye week, then has a bye. If you look at the next 2 weeks, Hughes goes bye Roosters, Hynes goes Tigers bye. I for sure will take Hynes versus the Tigers than Hughes versus the Roosters, even with Hynes not playing very well. Like, Hughes has to do a lot, and he is doing a lot, but he does need to do a lot to get points. Like, he needs try assists. He's got 3 try assists, and he's got a line break in there, 2 line break assists to get to 101. Hynes scored, 68 points with 1 lucky try. But if that try didn't happen, but he got that try assist to Ramian, basically what I'm saying is that I think Hynes needs to do less to get to the same scores that Hughes does, even though Hughes is looking very, very likely to get 90, 80 plus every week. Hynes at the moment probably isn't. Jason is saying, is Cody Walker a sell over Jerome Hughes with Terrell out? Yeah, this is the thing. It's tough with Cody though, because the thing is Cody covers 19, but also the next couple of games for the Rabbitohs, even without Terrell, are probably pretty good. You're looking at Dolphins in 19, which I think is a pretty fair matchup. If you look at conceding points over the last 8 rounds, Dolphins are actually 4th for SuperCoach. So they're actually conceding some points. Then they've got the Tigers in round 20. After that, though, it gets tougher. Well, Raiders, Sharks, Melbourne, Tigers again. So probably round 25 onwards is when it gets a little bit tougher. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not 100% sure if I'd be selling Cody over Jerome Hughes, because I think you also have to be wary if you're a head-to-head player or if you're overall. Because if you're overall and let's say you're overall and you're already covered for 19, then sure, maybe you sell Cody Walker. But yeah, I don't know. Like Hughes, my gut probably tells me Hughes is the one I'd rather keep long-term though, just with how good he's going. So yeah, it's a tough question to answer, and that's why it's probably going to be one of the biggest talking points next week. But yeah, it's like Sam Walker I probably would sell for Nicho. Jerome Hughes next week, would I sell him? Because I'm a wuss and I would be scared of not owning Hynes next week. I would, if I was owning Hughes, I'd probably still sell him for Nicho. If I had both of Walker and Hughes, I'd probably sell Walker before I sell. This is if I own Sam Walker and Jerome Hughes, I'd probably sell Sam Walker to Nicho, but keep Jerome Hughes. Anyway, all very roundabout there, but plenty to discuss, probably more on Tuesday. But yeah, I'm sure people have probably got that in the back of their mind as burning question for next week. Other players from the Storm, like Eli Katoa, just keeps getting it done. 86. Pappy was good with a try assist, so 71. So obviously he was in some doubt coming into this game, but ended up playing, so you'd be very happy with that. Jack Halves, 49. There was some chat about Halves earlier in the chat as well about him being the GOAT. I'm not sure about that, but look, he's got a negative 26 break even, scored 49. He's going to be in the 300s. The boat's probably sailed in terms of him as a downgrade target. So anyone who jumped on, you've probably done well there because he's playing quite well. And it looks like at the moment he's got that spot because Remus Smith was named in the extended squad but didn't get into the team, whereas Halves was the one playing in the end. So I feel like at the moment, Halves is going to continue getting a run. So anyone who's jumped on him, you've probably done pretty well there. But in terms of a downgrade, you're probably not going to get as much of a downgrade now, I think, going to Halves now. Sean Blow, a little bit disappointing with only the 38 points. Shout out to the Whisperer, who I pretty much told you have to play Blow against the Tigers, and I think that cost him about 20 points. So my advice isn't always the best, guys. It's not always the best. We've already spoken a little bit about the Roosters. We spoke about Terrell May and Teddy to an extent. We spoke a little bit about Angus. For sure, Angus, I think, is going to be a must-own for the run home, just with how good the Roosters' draw is for the rest of the year. Terrell May we've spoken a little bit about, Sam Walker we've spoken about, and obviously Teddy. I mean, if you don't own Teddy at this point, I think you just need to break your team. It's getting to that point where back in the day, I remember that season when Teddy went and scored when he averaged 95, and he had that score of 199 versus the Bulldogs. It was just it was just the point of that season where it was like, you just need to break your team to get him. I feel like at this point in time, when Teddy's getting so highly captained, like, he was 74% captained in the top 1%. I believe it was 68% in the top 5% of super coaches. And if you look at the run home, he's going to get captained so many times. Like, maybe not against Melbourne in round 20. Round 21 versus Manly at home, I think pretty fair captaincy shout. 22 against the Dolphins, I think he'll be captained. 24 against Parramatta, he will definitely be the most captain player. Round 25 versus the Titans, he'll probably be a captain option. Raiders 26 at home, he'll probably be a captain option. And round 27 against the Rabbitohs, he'll probably be a captain option. Like, what do we got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 7 games left in which I'll probably look at 6 of them as I can very, very comfortably captain him. And I think the way that he's going, when he's averaging like 90 plus, if you take out that, I mean, his average is going to be more than 90 now, including that score of 4. So yeah, for me, Teddy, he's just must have, I believe, at this point. It's going to be expensive, but I think there are just these times where you just need to swallow your pride and just get these players in. Otherwise, they'll just kill you week on week. But yeah, how good from Teddy. If you don't get Hynes, are there any captain options for next week? So we kind of rattled through most of the games, I think, to an extent. We haven't really spoken about the Raiders Knights, but I guess Ponga very quickly. Ponga did look pretty good today. Scored a line break out of his own end. Got a try assist for Greg, so 69 points for him. So he will definitely leak some big cash because he had a break even in the 170s, I believe. So yeah, Jay Schubert has got Ponga for a 84k price drop and with 167 break even. So he's going to be like high 700Ks, but the chat is that he's going to be playing Origin, so he'll probably miss round 19 anyway. But he wasn't goal kicking today. So goal kicking was split between Hastings and Will Price, actually. So maybe we probably quickly mention Will Price. So Will Price scored 66 points. So, if you're looking for a downgrade, 345k, he's going to have a big negative break even next week. So if you're looking for a downgrade, he plays round 19, round 20, Will Price could be an option if he's going to keep the goal kicking. Long term, I think that Ponga's probably going to keep it. But in terms of job security, Will Price, the 2 games that he's been in the team, the Knights have won. So I think that he's just going to stay there for the time being. And otherwise I think he's looked pretty good. So probably don't have space for him in my centres, but I think definitely an option for people who are looking to downgrade in centres. Gabe and Ben, $2. Thank you very much for the donation. Is Jerome Luai and Kieran Foran a good pod choice? So probably we'll cover off on Foran first. I think with Foran, I know he's had a couple of good weeks, but he's just never really been Supercoach relevant. I mean, he's always been a good NRL player, but Supercoach wise, historically, just never been an option. His season average is 48. Yes, he scored 76 this week, and I believe last week he scored in the 90s. He scored 107. To be fair, there was a 65 the week before against Tigers. But for me, I just don't think he's long-term going to be an option. And yeah, historically, he's just not really been that much of an option. So if you look at previous seasons, his average from 2009 until now, the highest average he's ever had in a season is 55 in his first ever season. After that was 54 in 2020. Otherwise, it's been 40s. So yeah, look, for me, Foran not an option. Luai maybe, because I think Luai scored pretty well again this week. He scored 61, but I just do feel like when Cleary is back, that will diminish Luai's appeal. So, and Luai is also quite expensive because he had a really good run. Yeah, he's going to be up around the 800Ks. I wouldn't be paying 800K for Jerome Luai. But yeah, very quickly, Will Price really good. Marzu awesome today, 85 points with a couple of line breaks, lots of tackle busts, and the try. So 85 points. Dan Gagai was a bit of a pod for people, but he looks like he's getting a call back for Queensland for Game 3. So you're going to miss him for Game 3 for round 19 now. Apart from that, Kai Piss-Paul is solid today. So look, keep him from round 19, and then you can reassess after that. Is Burbo out next week? Yeah, Burbo's been ruled out. He's got the 11-day stand down, so he's going to miss round 19. And then, Fletcher Sharp. The news that Ponga is going to be playing Origin Game 3 most likely means that Fletcher Sharp should be good for next week for a start, which is good because he played very limited minutes today. I think he only played maybe 20, 25 minutes because Inari Tuala picked up an injury, I think, with 30 minutes to go. Yeah, Fletcher Sharp only played 17 minutes in the game, so... but he should be playing the full 80 next week at fullback, which is very handy. Raiders don't play next week. Tom Starling maybe is a downgrade hooker for people because he was 242k, named to start, scored 82, but look, probably not many people are looking at them for next week, given that they don't play. We'll take a couple of questions. We've been an hour, and then we'll probably wrap it up. Zach saying, I got 1336. Will Appy be suspended? No, so Appy was fined, but not suspended. So Appy will be available for round 19. So that's definitely a big win for owners. Is 1304 above par this week? I feel like 1304 is about the par score. So, because if I look at a couple of my leagues that I'm in, I lost one league in a public league when I scored 1413. Wilfred from Podmaster scored 1328. Actually, if I have a quick look there, if you want to have an idea of par score, so if you look at scores across Podmasters, there's a few scores in the 1200s, some in the 1400s, there's some high 1300s. There's a bit of a mix of most of the scores I see are around the 1300s. And then you've got some 1400s like NRL Physio, 1435. So he had a big week. Will Teddy score drop? I don't think so, because I know people were saying that he should get a try assist taken off him, but I think all three of his try assists were fair enough. Like, he got one for Dom Young, he'll keep that. I think he'll keep the one for Tupou, because even though Jennings was a last pass, Teddy created the overlap. So I think Teddy will keep it. And then for Sitili Tupouniua, he was the last offload for Tupouniua's try. So if anything, Teddy's score is probably going to go up, because generally they score offloads as ineffective to begin with. So let me have a quick look at it here. Yeah, he got one ineffective offload. He'll probably get that to a positive, so that's probably going to go up another 2 points, his score. If anything, he might go get a few extra tackle busts. So yeah, I don't really see his score dropping a huge amount. If anything, it might go up a little bit. We didn't speak about, in the Dragons' point of view, actually, very quickly, Lomax. So Lomax, pretty low score, only 25 points. Might be a good run home option, but they do have a tough run up until about round 24. If you look at round 24 onwards, because look, after this week, he misses round 19. Then he's got Penrith, Melbourne, Bulldogs. Those are three of the 4 teams that I said I don't want my players versing. Round 24 onwards, though, it's Titans, Sharks, Parramatta, and the Raiders. So maybe at that point he's an option, but now that he's got this score of 25 and this score of 170 will drop out of his 3-round rolling average. What I'm hoping for is that he drops a lot in price and he might be in the low 600s. Might be a nice juicy pickup for the last 4 weeks of the season. How much will Fifita's price drop? So Jay Schubert has him projected for a 38k price drop. All right, guys, we'll probably wrap up the stream there. We've been going on for the full hour. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for the donations and for your support. Please do give the stream a like on the way out if you did enjoy it. It does really help me out. We'll put the audio for this out on Spotify as well very soon, very shortly after I wrap up here. But thanks everyone for tuning in. It was an awesome weekend of footy. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. Hopefully you all had some good SuperCoach scores to go with it as well. And we'll see you all on Tuesday for the round 19 preview. Catch you then and have a good rest of your night. Cheers.